So welcome back to my channel, Fiction Star. I will start with new series, What If Naruto Fall in Love with Yugao? So let's start the series. Yugao and Umbu Black Op of the Leaf sat down on the bar. She had completed God is aware of what number of missions. She too wanted relaxation. Commonly she could be suitable as new after a drink or, Anko stated, "Yu-chan, do you have got a boyfriend?" She shook her head. She grinned and said, "Then permit me assist you. See that blonde man? He is the first-rate jounin. I've met him. You both will be the cutest couple." She stated, "Anko, I am not simply going to make one by way of boyfriend who I slightly recognize." She turned into about to leave, but she gave a thumbs up. She sighed as she took a more in-depth look. He was pretty handsome. She walked towards him and sat at a ways. She checked out him in his blue eyes. She stared at them. Then he regarded her manner. She shook her head with a light blush. He walked to her and stated, "Yo." She said, "Hi." He said, "I am Naruto." She looked at him with marvel. He become the Kage's son and the prodigy of the leaf. She stated, "I'm Yugao." He said, "It is satisfactory to peer a stunning moon flower all through a full moon." Her blush spread further. Simply being round him she become flustering. He stated, "Am I able to purchase you a drink?" She changed into approximately to say no, whilst he stated, "Then let's move." Later, as they had few beverages, she said, "Thank you, however I need to move." She notion why I was for as soon as taking part in. She stopped when he held her hand. He stated, "Please stay a little while." She became closer to him, and they both looked at each different. She gave in. After few hours, she was sitting in his lap sideways and they were kissing passionately. He stated, "Sorry we just met, but I can't help it, you're so lovely." She become captured through him too. She stated, "Well, are pretty handsome yourself." She stated, "It'll be more secure this manner." She sat on his lap and placed her hands on his face. She took gain of his reaction and ruled a kiss. He turned into hesitant but then let pass and kissed returned. His hand slipped down her waist and squeezed her ass gently. That triggered her to moan, and between the kiss as they pulled off a thin lining of saliva formed. They each smiled. They each wanted more but couldn't say it. He said, "It's getting overdue, maybe we should forestall for today." She agreed and were given off his lap. As they were given out and they reached her home, he said, "It was amazing meeting you, Yugao." She said, "Likewise, Naruto." There was a silence. When they both checked out every different, he stated, You mean, DFMWK, before we component methods?" She had blush in her face. She said, "Yeah, that sure." They each lunged forward for a kiss. Their tongues had been dancing. Both were savoring every different taste. They pulled for air. He said, I need to move." She idea, but he appeared in her eyes, which have been down, showing she also desired to live. He moved in closer. He placed his hand on the wall close to her face as he spiked her slowly. Shifting closer, he asked, "Do you want a head?" She brought her fingers towards his face as pulled him nearer. She requested, "Do you?" He stated, "I assume we both know the answer to that." She smiled. They moved close until they had been an inch aside. Naruto moved first and kissed her. She kissed lower back with passion. She unlocked her door, and he pushed her internal. They pulled off for air. She removed her flap jacket and shirt, revealing her bouncy boobs and black bra. He unzipped his jacket. He pulled her for a kiss without losing any time. He gave her ass a gaze. She moaned lightly. She positioned her arms on his face. She driven him to the couch. She sat on his lap. Her hands slipped interior his blouse. She felt his toned chest. She pulled it up. She amazed at his abs. They had been kissing for dominance. They pulled off. He pulled her up via her ass. They moved to the bedroom. She started out stroking his manhood. He marked her pussy lips. They both had been moaning. Next moment she eliminated his boxers. He slowly slid down her pants. After short while they were sweating, she became going up and down on Naruto's lap. His cock turned into twisting against her tender tight pussy. He become approximately to come. He notion I cannot. He surprised whilst she out her hands on his face, and checked out him slowly moving nearer and softly kissed him. He lost manipulate, and came internal her. He stated Yugao. She stated I want this Naruto. Her smile made him smile. Subsequent morning Yugao awakened and moved round to look. Naruto became long past. She thought he could have stated goodbye. She then felt arms round her waist. She changed into Naruto snoozing subsequent to her. She grew to become around and snuggled to his chest. He stated Ohio Yugao. She requested isn't always at a trouble in case you do not display up. He stated I sent a clone and explained all and sundry. He snuggled to her chest as he requested for her warm temperature. She caressed his hair. They both got up and modified. She came out of her room in her umbu gear. She saw him searching at her with a smile. She playfully stated what? He pulled her nearer and stated I cannot help it, you appearance so sexy for your umbu uniform. He began kissing her sensitive spots on her neck. She moaned softly. She stated Naru, to not now I have to go He said 5 minutes? She pulled him for a kiss, losing no time. They have been kissing without a lust, just feelings for every different. Time exceeded as she needed to cross. They pulled off. She kissed softly and about to depart. He pulled her and stated 2 minutes. She smiled and gave him a short kiss. Then she playfully driven him off and was approximately to undergo the door. He seemed in front of her. He said one last time please. She was getting past due. He pulled her with the aid of the waist and bruised his lips along with her. She became confused to what to do. She couldn't resist it, so she kissed him passionately and shined out. He smiled and stated 1 minute? He made his way home. Minato had left as he changed into the Hokage. He modified to his Jounin outfit. He went out for a task. After 2 days he lowered back. He submitted his report. Minato said Naruto, I know you're into this, however should not discover someone? There has been silence. He smiled and stated perhaps I already have. There has been silence again. Minato turned into awe. He stated in a touch pervy manner, so who's it out of the fan women? He said not anybody out of them, however a person I met just once and that I knew I like her. Minato face expression changed to a grin. He said Alaus introduce her to us. He said maybe later. He shined out. Yugao just were given back from patrol obligation. She become tempted and wanted to relaxation. As she got home, he changed into ready. She smiled and said, are you able to provide a massage? I am tired. He smiled. They went to the bathroom. He first sat in. As she entered, she felt high-quality heat, however more nicer, while she lied on top of Naruto. He massaged her shoulders. She felt so excellent she puzzled if this become heaven. He observed she fell asleep on him. He smiled and carried her bridal style. He washed her, and then slowly laid on her his mattress. He turned into about to go away while she stuck his hand. He looked at her, stated be a part of me. He smiled and took of his garments. He were given in her bed along with her. She snuggled to his chest. He caressed her hair. She simply looked so lovely. He landed a gentle kiss on her brow. Next morning, he opened his eyes as sunlight reached their room. He noticed she become nonetheless snoozing. He said, Yugao, Yugao? She opened her eyes. He stated, don't you need to move? She stated, I took permission to take a time off. She closed her and snuggled in addition to his chest. He smiled and wrapped his palms round her. She smelled something appropriate cooking. She opened her eyes and saw Naruto turned into drowsing subsequent to her. He had made a clone to cook dinner. She became round and saw him looking at her brown eyes. He stated, hungry? She nodded. They were given up. She wore a black tank and shorts. He stated, is there whatever you don't look so hot, attractive and tempting in? She smiled on the praise. He served the food. He sat down on seat. She smiled seductively. He gave her questioning look. He soon realized her cause. She sat on his lap. He smiled. He held her and landed butterfly kissed in her soft neck. She moaned gently. She said, ah yeah, Naruto proper there. His hands slipped beneath her black tank top. His arms roamed all round her body from her thighs to her stomach. She looked at him and pulled him for a kiss. He gladly returned the kiss. They pulled and completed their breakfast. He stated, I told my dad about you, no longer particularly approximately you, but he has asked to see you. She regarded down, rubbing her shoulder. He smiled and said it is gonna be K. He saw B face and knew she turned into now not happy. After their speak with Minato he pretty tons agreed to the whole lot. He asked a query, will you always be with my son, never die and no way depart him alone? There has been silence. He glared at his father. He said aloud, take a stroll? As they get out, Minato sensed killing cause. He slowly became round to see his wife eyes and darkish. She said, Minato, why did you've got to mention such matters every time? After Naruto in the end found a woman she was excellent loving too, I saw it her eyes. She said, why? He said, they live each other but I need to test her. As they walked, she said, I'm sorry Naruto, I can't do it. She tried to forestall her, however she become gone. They hadn't but every other in months. He tried to visit her but she wasn't there. He thought Yugao. Yugao was on shield obligation. She concept Naruto. Kakshi changed into Yuding Hai Ika paradise. He stated Yo Naruto. He stated Kakshi sensei. He said you have been all depressed in recent times? He turned into silent. He said is it approximately Yugao? He checked out him with surprise. He stated yes, she too changed into sad once I met her some days in the past. He explained the scenario. He stated Naruto sensei has continually been like this. He stated I understand but. He sighed and stated properly I be on my manner. He nodded. He become on their way. He met her. They both appeared down. They stated sorry. He stated permits pass someplace else. She nodded. They have been on top of the 4th Hokage monument. She said sorry for jogging away, I could not do it. We are shinobi, we will die anytime, you cannot always live. He stated why failed to say that to my dad, he become testing you. She became amazed a bit. He said he has the addiction to make sure that I select someone right. She said so do you skinny. She could not complete as her lips had been related to his lips. Her eyes widened a bit, however, then she kissed again. They pulled off looking into each different eyes. He said I only love you Yugao. She let out a tear. He stated permits go. She nodded. Then she noticed an eagle. She said responsibility calls. He said it is high quality, just do not do that. He kissed her and said I like you. She smiled and kissed him softly before leaving. He went to the bar and had a laugh together with his friends. Shikamaru stated it's a drag but I got across. Chuji stated me too. Kiba said permits move Akamaru. Shino left silently. Lee stated Naruto-kun you're coming proper? He said I'm able to after some time. He said Yasalaus race. Shikamaru said do not be this type of drag. He smiled. After some time. HS turned into sitting board. Someone said is that this set empty? He said there is seat. He noticed Yugao. She became in a black tank top and tight jeans. He said She giggled and sat on his lap sideways. She stated this seat is better than the rest? Her hand turned into going via his face nevertheless in astonishment. Her outfit turned into so hot he almost notioned she changed into angel. She stated I had a talk together with your dad and without a word he said welcome to the family Yugao. As soon as she finished, she turned into pulled for a kiss. She surrendered in that they let their lips do the speak me. They pulled off for air. He pulled her nearer, and she had on his lap on his in a greater comfortable function. He went for a kiss, whilst she put a finger on his lips. She said now not here. He nodded in agreement. She was approximately to rise up, and he pulled her hand and made her sit in his lap and kissed her. She turned into amazed as she hadn't predicted this. She gave in. She stated Narit, oh, mmmmhhm, we sh. Well. He said do you want to prevent? He requested as he withdrew. She stated no under no circumstances but. He pulled her by means of her neck, and they commenced a war of dominance. Their tongues were dancing. He squeezed her ass as she moaned. They pulled off for air. She stated need to we get going then. Subsequent second they have been in his room. She changed into a chunk surprised. He picked her up and driven her to a wall. She placed her hand on his neck and different his cheek. She said now not here someone will. He checked out her and stated I don't care I haven't kissed you in some time so allow me enjoy. She said me too. She were given down and went nearer and she or he kissed him and she slowly unzipped his jacket. He pulled her leg as much as his chest. His hand roamed around her leg. He felt her soft skin. She moaned softly. She pulled off and driven Naruto to the bedroom. He changed into startled a piece. He saw her stripping of her clothes. She took off her black tank blouse as he saw her black brow. She slowly opened the belt and slid down her pants. He was gazing her. She crawled closer to him. She sat on his lap. He unzipped his jacket, and she pulled up his shirt. She pulled down his pants. They engaged in a passionate kiss. They longed to kiss each different like this. They then bogged down and softly pecked each other lips. He stated, "Wanna take a bathtub?" She stated, "Lead the way." He pulled her up by way of her ass and went in her. The water took time to fill. He pushed her to a wall and she pulled him for a kiss. They made out until the water became crammed. She got down. He went in and she slowly were given in. They made obtainable. After an hour, they had been gasping for air. She stated, "Come on." She got up. He watched as she moved, swaying her hips. She washed herself in a towel, as she were given out. He pulled her from in the back of. He said, "Allows pass again?" She stated, "It'll get late." He said, "I am not snoozing until then." She smiled and turned around. She pushed him to mattress. She said, "Well then I will ensure Toy fall asleep." She put her head on his chest as she used it as a pillow. He smiled and wrapped a blanket round them. Subsequent morning, Naruto was snoozing with Yugao as he hustled fingers round her. Kushina has performed making breakfast. She changed into surprise when Naruto hadn't come off the bed. She slowly opened the door. She was shocked and glad. She noticed Yugao and Naruto snoozing together with smiles. She met out a tear. Her son finally observed her. She closed the door. As he opened his eyes, he noticed her. He couldn't assist, however, smile. He moved her hair, worrying her eye. She smiled and opened her eyes. He said, "Can I kiss my angel?" She giggled and softly kissed him. He stated, "Mother become glad approximately us." She nodded. They got up. He had got her garments. As they were given out of his room, they saw Minato analyzing a book. Kushina serving breakfast. She said, "Oh hey, each of you come sit down for breakfast." They were going to sit while he pulled her into his lap. He stated, "Sorry mom, however Yugao's seat is right here with me." She giggled. Kushina stated, "Minato, Naruto eventually were given one." He said, "Yeah." After breakfast, Kushina said, "Properly, must I be expecting grandchildren whenever soon?" Each had blushes on their faces. Naruto stated, "Ka-chan." Minato stated, "Ma, your mother Naruto." He sighed. He stated, "So you have any plans?" He stated, "Yeah, I've planned a trip for today." She said, "You know the way make me happy, don't you?" He smiled. Next hour they went to the lodge Naruto had booked. Yugao cherished every a part of it. He stated, "I'm going to the swimming pool." She smiled. Naruto became relaxing at the pool whilst his eyes opened, and he noticed Yugao, and a go well with that took his eyes out. She winked at him, causing him to have nosebleed. She entered the pool and went close to Naruto. She laid down on his chest. He just held her around her waist. He stated, "Is there anything you do not appearance so attractive in?" She stated, "What can I say, I simply love to see you amazed." He said, "You are doing a pretty accurate job there." She grew to become around and pushed him to the facet of th pool. They made out for a few minutes. He stated, "Allows get a few food after this." She nodded. As she slowly got out of the pool, he became simply watching her ass as she walked and swayed her hips. He stated, "Oh God, so horny." When they had dinner, they sat of their rooms seeing the stars. He lied on his lover. As she played with his hair, she stated, "Permits get some sleep, Naruto." He said, "You need to move?" She held him tighter. He smiled. Next day they back domestic. Preceding night time, Yugao had taken a tub and turned into in her umbu uniform. She said, "Naruto." No reaction. She said, rattling it, "Wherein is he?" She turned into approximately to go away when she felt two fingers maintaining her. She seemed again to just stare at the blue eyes. He pulled her, and his arms went inside her vest. She stated, "Nar. Yuto no longer now, I am all." He landed kisses on her neck. She moaned softly. She driven him deeper. He opened her vest and groped her boobs. She stated Nar, Yuto, no. T now mmhmm. He said, but you are liking it. She come what may controlled to get out of his grip. She stated, after my shift then we will have amusing. He pushed her to a wall. Earlier than she may want to say something he locked their mouths. She gave in and kissed him back. They pulled off. She attempted to go away but he stated 5 minutes? She smiled and kissed him. Their tongues had been moving in sync. They ended it. She pushed him, however he said 2 minutes? She stated, you're so disturbing. He said nicely, you are just so attractive. They lunged forward and kissed. She pushed him away before he ought to forestall her. He pulled her up by means of her ass and driven her to a wall. She became surprised he took gain of that, and kissed her, dominating. She gave up and wrapped her legs round him, and kissed again. She said, Naruto, I need to go. He stated, 1 minute? She kissed him and surprised him, getting him off balance. She pushed him to the couch. He opened his eyes and he or she changed into long gone. He sighed. Then she regarded on top of him, and kissed him lightly. He pushed her head to make it deep. He stated, don't end it please. She pulled off and said, bye darling. She got off and gave him a flying kiss as she left. He smiled and stated, 30 seconds? Yugao become patrolling when she noticed an explosion and rushed to peer Naruto fallen and injured badly. With him Itachi and Kisame Kade fallen. Kisame stated, this man is the real deal, and Itachi-san. Itachi stated, well, I count on not anything less. First he survived my Tsukuyami, after which he disabled you by taking in the nature electricity, and still defended his comrades. Kisame stated, we have to get out. Of handiest I should move. His closing flow harm. Zetsu emerged and said, properly, well, appearance what we've got here. Have to we take the 9 tails now that he's susceptible? He said, fool, it is too late, the reinforcements will arrive before that, let's take Itachi and Kisame. They escaped underground. Naruto become taken to the sanatorium. Yugao was at verge of breaking, anybody she loved died, Naruto. The door opened and Tsunade got here out. Yugao stood expecting how realize his lover's circumstance. Tsunade said, I can be blunt. He's out of threat, but he need relaxation. He became reckless as ordinary. Rings a bell in my memory of to Minato. Minato rubbed his brow. Kushina said, can we see him? She nodded. After some time Minato returned and Kushina went domestic. Yugao sat next to his mattress caressing his hair. Tears had been popping out, and she said, Naruto, why do you have to be the one? You baka, you scared me there. After few days, Naruto turned into still subconscious. Yugao got here day by day and Kushina simply smiled, understanding she will take care of her son. On night time she stated, Naruto, all of us is looking forward to you. With a purpose to come back, they need you, and I. As she fell to his level and hugged him, letting out tears, she stated, I want to more than anybody. After few weeks, Naruto opened his eyes slowly. He closed them, looking to keep in mind the ultimate element he did after the combat with Itachi and Kisame. He regarded around to discover himself in health facility. He turned around and saw the maximum lovely female he had ever visible. He smiled. Yugao eyes opened and saw Naruto awake. She shall we out a tear, she stated, Naruto. She stated, do not do that again. She hugged him tightly. She stated, medic, he is awake. Actor, free hours. Minato came in and stated, happy you are up, son. He grinned. He stated, don't you have to apologize to a person? He said, you mean? He stated, yep, she stayed right here all the time and were given off, she failed to let you out for a 2D. He said, I see. Subsequent day, as he became discharged from the hospital, he arrived at his home, in which Kushina became leaky killer intent, and she or he stated, Naruto, you hire make it up to her or what happens, don't you? He nervously nodded. While Yugao can domestic. That they had dinner. He tried to speak, however she clearly replied. At night, he tried to keep her from at the back of. However she did not do anything. They spelt without saying's phrase. Next day when she returned to domestic, she saw Naruto snoozing on the sofa with a book on his hand. She protected him with a blanket. She was strolling away while she stopped. She saw Naruto preserving her hand whilst dozing. There has been silence. Then she walked in the direction of him, and laid down on top of him. He wrapped his arms round her. She checked out him. He said, Yugao, sorry. She stared at him, and then moved ahead and lightly kissed him as she positioned her head on his chest. Next day, while both Minato and Kushina left, Yugao turned into making meals, while she first two arms pulling her closer. She resisted, however, then he landed kisses on her neck. She closed her eyes. He put her face over her shoulder and said, Yugao, I'm sorry, I are aware of it's now not sufficient. You concept I died and left you all on my own again. He stated, so permit this idiot boyfriend of yours make amends? She changed into crying and hit his chest again and again. He pulled her face up via her chin and wiped her tears. He checked out her. She stated just one factor. You're greater at it than you suspect. He poured and he giggled. He said, hi there, I. He could not end as she locked her lips with his lips. He slowly kissed lower back. They pulled off. She placed her head on his chest and said, do not scare me like that once more or I will leave you. He stated, will you now, Yugao, or are you able to do it flow far from me? She moved a bit far from hello chest and stated, how can you already know that I'm able to do it? He said, you may not. She stated with a smile, are to provide an explanation for why. He stated, because you like me and also you cannot deny that. Thigh checked out each different and kissed for all of the time they could not. Thigh pulled off and she positioned her head on his chest and he wrapped her closer. Both closed their eyes with being in comfort with each other include. After a few days Yugao lowered back from her venture and saw no person at home. She removed her sword and then she became against the wall with a base similar blonde in the front of her. She stated, you amazed me. She pulled his head closer. He stated, did I now? She said, don't forget yourself fortunate. He stated, I am very lucky indeed. She giggled. She driven him to the sofa. She sat on his lap. She stated, in which is every person? He stated, village enterprise. She said, so we're all alone for this night? He moved her hair and said, yep, got any plans? She stated, I do, one which now not installed motion due to your reckless behavior. He grinned, rubbing his hair. She pulled him for a kiss. He spoke back, returned passionately. They separated for air. He grabbed her ass and pulled her up, moving to the bedroom. She got down and lulled his shirt up and pants down, and then pushed him to the mattress, seductively stripping in front of him, after which crawled to him. He became speechless. She sat on his lap. After price hours both were sweating and kissing passionately. They pulled off and lied down on top of him. She said, I used to be questioning approximately what mother asked approximately kids? She looked at him and asked, have you ever given an idea? He said, I already did, however, firstly. She felt something on her hand and raised it. She noticed a bowled over as she noticed a ring. She stared at him and he smiled and requested, will you be my wife, Yugao? She cried and kissed him with pleasure and said softly, sure. He pulled her for a kiss and she kissed again, not as boyfriend and lady friend, however as husband and wife. Yugao was on her guard responsibility, and she wasn't in a hurry, as regular sus Naruto had long passed for a task himself. What became one of a kind become his mission's numbers rose. Flashback Yugao woke few hours earlier than her everyday time. She looked at the clock and closed her eyes. She got closer to Naruto, handiest for him no longer to be there. She were given up and noticed him getting modified to his jounin vest. He noticed her wide awake and stated, sorry to wake you up, I have an urgent venture. Flashback ENDS She saw the Umbu coming for their shift. She jumped from roof to roof thinking what her lover turned into doing proper now. Dhe arrived and noticed the famous pink warm Hanberno cooking food. Minato arrived from home. All of them sat for dinner. Kushina said, what challenge did you provide Naruto this time? Minato, this the second one time he is lacking dinner. He said, I do not know either. I handiest gave him few B-rank missions that didn't require to go to extremely good distance. Yugao stared at her food. Kushina looked at her daughter in regulation and said, it's gonna be okay, consume up now. She gave a small smile. After completing the meals, Minato and Kushina went to mattress. Yugao waited in dwelling room. They hadn't even changed yet. It was beyond 1 a.m. The door opened and Naruto entered. He saw Yugao sitting and searching at him. He stated, you shouldn't wait this long for me. She did not flow her eye touch. He stated, sorry. I have to cross on a mission tomorrow, so I won't be right here long. He walked past her, but then he stopped as he felt a warm hand preventing him. He concept she need to be angry with me for doing this again, and once more. He seemed again to look that her hair was blocking her facial expression. He become pulled toward her as she grabbed his vest and pulled him. His lips joined along with hers as she kissed him. He was surprised. She looked at him and stated, well then at the least let's spend the relaxation of the time together? He was speechless, he was no longer anticipating this to happen. He stated with a smile positive. She kissed him as quickly as he let out those phrases. He pulled her in the direction of deep in the kiss. He led her to their room, not breaking the kiss. He neared the door slowly. She pushed him to the wall, locking every different lips. He grabbed her ass and pulled her up. He unzipped her vest. She removed his vest. They pulled off for air. They laid on the mattress with Yugao snoozing on pinnacle of Naruto still awake. She saw himself looking at the sky. She should see the ache he failed to want to reveal. She said, hi there, in case you want me I am right here for you. He stared at her. He opened his mouth, however not anything got here out. He stated arigato any Yugao. He embraced her tightly as they diminished to sleep. Each day he got more and more emotionless. The small conversations among the affection duo have been now not occurring for lengthy period. It becomes sooner or later weekend. Yugao opened her eyes. It was her break day. She spelt a touch extra than typical. She grew to become to the opposite aspect of mattress with the smallest chance of Naruto being next to her. She felt no one there next to her. She became around in unhappiness. She set free a tear of disappointment. Then she felt two fingers wrap around her, pulling her in. She looked again to look the blonde-eyed she cherished. She became sent into a bliss. She heard him say, Yugao. I am sorry. She smiled and softly kissed him, now not waking him up. She were given out and allow him sleep as he rarely got any relaxation in week. She helped Kushina in cooking breakfast. She became making ready meals for both of them. Naruto awoke from his sleep and walked to the kitchen. He saw his crimson umbu female friend cooking. He pulled her in the back of. She were given an eerie feeling from Naruto's actions, however before she ought to say a word he planted soft kisses on her neck. She moaned softly. He got close to her ear and stated, I like you, Yugao. He placed her chin on her shoulder. She turned off the gasoline range and grew to become round. Her eyes widened a touch. The blonde in front of her became smiling. After the sort of long term she saw the smile she longed to see. He pulled her nearer and kissed her. She lowered back the kiss with passion. He grabbed her ass and out her on top of the counter, now not pulling off. She stated, Narit, oh, mmhm, now not now, the foo, d is, bloodless. He became now not listening. When they pulled for air, she noticed his eyes and noticed want, need for her. It turned into as if it was his closing day. She could not recognize. She were given down and placed her hand on his face. He overlapped her hand. She stated, Naruto, what is incorrect? He shook his head. She pulled him close. They have been an inch away. She looked at him, trying to find the solution. He said, nothing is inaccurate. He slowly pushed her to the wall. She said, virtually? He smiled. Pulled her up. He wrapped her legs around him. She put one hand on his cheek and different, pulling him nearer through his hair. She said simply, do not mislead yourself. He seemed down a touch. She rose his head and he got here closer and kissed her. They were transferring in sync. At night he got dressed. He saw the affection of his existence for the last time. He moved towards the napping splendor, moved her hair. She held his hand unconsciously. He permitted a tear out. He kissed her forehead. He teleported to an area. In front of him stood guy in a black cloak with a red flower. He wore an orange mask with one hole. He said, so that you have come, word of your deed has reached me. I welcome you to the Akatsuki Namikaze Naruto. At the leaf, Yugao discovered Naruto lacking and looked for him. She ran to the Hokage's workplace as Minato labored till past due to finish office work. He said to San, Naruto is lacking. Then a Chunin entered the workplace. Minato stated what befell. He stated, Lord Fourth, it's terrible. Naruto has left the village and defeated all of the Umbu and Jounin in the village. Yugao changed into greatly surprised and taken aback. She said, Naruto? Naruto turned into greeted by using Tobi or Madara Yuhicha as he proclaimed to be. He said, comply with me? He became sucked in his visible jutsu of the Sharingan. The subsequent second he turned into inside the Akatsuki base. He said, I am member of Akatsuki, however I am long gone by using the name of Tobi and few recognize about my powers. He nodded. While he entered he noticed a man with blonde hair, one blue eye and announcing Katsu. Next on was much less of a man, he had his face covered with a headband and few strands of hair. He diagnosed him as Sasori of the Red Sand. He noticed Itachi and Kisame Hashikage. He noticed a person with silver hair and a scythe on his shoulder. Subsequent to him was a person with dark pores and skin and threads on his fingers. He walked to the center. Tobi subsequent to him said, Chief, I have introduced him because Tobi is a good boy. He said, suitable process now then. The leader had orange hair rod on his ear and nostril, however maximum improbable factor changed into the pink eyes with ripple sample. He said, the legendary Renegan, huh? Subsequent to him stood a woman with bone hair and emotionless eyes. He stated, we welcome you to the Akatsuki Namikaze Naruto. Our goal is simple, to gain peace. He said, if I may ask, how am I able to assist in that? He stated, I will group you up with someone and you may go to get the bijou. They had been used as weapons. After we collect all 9 we are able to deliver peace. Naruto stated, properly, when do I start? He stated, wait a little, I can team up quickly. 4 years later Minato had summoned all the Jounin, and Umbu beside him stood the mythical toad sage Jiraiya. He said, I have known as you here to talk about something, the Akatsuki. Yugao gift in the room clenched her fist. He stated, their motion has not been noticed yet, but simply recently consistent with Jiraiya-sensei. The 2 tails and the 4 tails have long gone missing. We trust it's the Akatsuki. There were whispers happening. Kakashi said, Lord Fourth, from what I have heard one of the members of Akatsuki is Namikaze Naruto, and he himself is a Jinchuriki. Minato sighed and stated, it's proper. While a bijou is separated from its Jinchuriki, the Jinchuriki dies. Is he alive? Both. He by some means survived, or his bijou isn't always separated, but he said, it's all, keep your ears sharp and don't allow your guard down. The Akatsuki can enter our village at any time. They all nodded. The Akatsuki Hudut Haiden said, God damn it, that took forever. Kakaza stated, for as soon as I agree, time is money, we shouldn't waste time. Haiden stated, shut up Kakuzu, I don't care about your money. Ike stated, very well, relax you. He said, we have 4 Jinchuriki. He stated, 2 tails, 9 tails, 4 tails and the 3 tails. He said, Naruto, Itachi, go to Konoha, get the records, approximately the Chunin tests. He stated, may I ask why, Chief? He stated, according to Zetsu the 7 tails Jinchuriki is taking part. He said, Sasori and Deidara go to the sand and seize the on tail. Zetsu get greater statistics at the relaxation of the Jinchuriki. All of them nodded. In the base, Ike, Konan and Madara had been sitting. Konan said, do you believe you studied Naruto will betray us? Madara said, I don't suppose so. He has fulfilled all his responsibilities until now, however now will his final check. Naruto and Itachi have been near the gate leading to the doorway of the Leaf Village. Because of Orochimaru's failed assault on the Leaf, it changed into clean. Itachi and Naruto sat close to the tea keep. When they saw the well-known Kakashi no Sharingan standing outside the shop analyzing his perverted e-book, he noticed the 2 Jounin, Kurinia Yehi and Asuma Saratobi. He said, properly, don't you 2 appearance lovely? Kurinia's face a bit crimson said, Baka, I simply came to shop for Dango for Anko. Asuma said, why did you call us right here? It's now not every day you get here in time. He said, well, I desired to shop for an imparting for Sasuke. He pointed his eyes on the 2 Nin sitting internal. They nodded. Sasuke arrived and said, why did you need to fulfill me here? You recognize I don't like candies. He stated, is that so? Well, we will need to think of something else then. The 2 had disappeared. Asuma and Kurinai gave Kakashi a nod and accompanied them. Sasuke's eyes blinked in confusion. Asuma and Kurinai stood at the back of them. He stated, who are you 2? It does not seem like you 2 are from the village. They grew to become around and Itkai's Sharingan made their eye widen. He said, I'm able to cope with them, get the statistics. He nodded. Asuma stated, there may be no mistaking it, it's him, Itkahai Yahicha. Kurinai said, who's the alternative one? He stated, we cannot permit our guard down. Naruto weaved a plus signal and a clone changed into formed. He jumped away from them. Asuma feed the clone together with his chakra blades. He exceeded through him at mild velocity. He idea what velocity he seems familiar, ought to or not its. Itkahai stated you don't have time to appearance away. Asuma become kicked inside the belly. Kurenai weaved signs and symptoms. Naruto were given at the back of her and knocked her out. He was about to finish her off. He changed into blocked, and he checked out the man he stated Kakshi Hataki. He said I thought I go away at you however but who knew it would you. He stated the reinforcements are within the manor so even though it's far you guys do you believe you studied you can take at the entire village? He stated nicely we anticipated this to appear. Itkahai said real however I think you underestimate us. He stated you two paintings for a group referred to as the Akatsuki and you aren't the simplest the institution are you that are after the Jinchuriki, of the tailed beast. Itachi said need to we take him? He stated no now not vital he by and large were given that records from that pervy sage. Next moment they have been surrounded by using Ambu and subsequent to them the yellow flash of the leaf. Minato said you're surrounded surrender Naruto. He said no longer these days dad. He stated and why is that? He stated with an evil smile on his face stated we were given what we came here for. Kakshi said what are you speaking Abo, wait in advance. He recalled earlier than interrupting the combat he noticed something past the opposite route. He stated we are out of here. Itachi placed his hand on his shoulder, and they flashed. Minato sighed. He checked out the only Ambu with a cat mask. A Jounin appeared subsequent to Minato. Minato asked did you discover their goal? He stated I am sorry Lord Hokage however anything they got here for they were given it and left without a clue. He stated look for them they may still be within the village. He said hi, at the outskirts of the village. Itachi and Naruto stood. Zetsu seemed for the ground and said nicely how did it pass. He stated the Chunin exams are being held on the so we are able to hence circulate. Zetsu spoke so what's the plan now? Itkahai stated he is already in. Naruto next to him disappeared in smoke. A Jounin sitting at the fourth Hokage head stood up. He weaved a signal and Naruto in his Jounin uniform now visible said now my challenge starts. To break the leaf. Naruto had booked himself a hotel as he just could not go again to his residence. He had scouted the leaf's protection and turned into its surprised reason of its excessive alert. He concept properly I wager I wasn't watching for this he certain is being careful. Someone stated hello you there. He grew to become round to see someone that made his eyes widen a little. He softly prompted Yugao. She stated what? Even though she became in her Ambu uniform her purple hair and her eyes behind her cat mask that she couldn't disguise from him. He said sorry my terrible I sometimes don't know what I'm saying. She said I see properly Lord Fourth has summoned all of the Jounin. He stated okay I might be on my way. He walked with the aid of her while she stated have I seen you before somewhere? There it turned into if he could see via her mask she may want to inform it was him. She said don't mind me I simply mistook you for someone else. He stated nicely then. She idea what is this since it appears like I recognize him however. I want to keep a watch on him he could not be. Naruto arrived on the office and in the back of him became the character with white hair one-eyed covered and analyzing an orange e-book. He just smiled understanding his sensei will never exchange. They each entered and noticed at all the Jounin and stated my apologies Lord Fourth I forgot about your summon. Kakashi said I were given lost on the street of life. Each person smiled knowing that the replica ninja usually a few or different executes. Minato stated I have summoned you here to speak about approximately the Akatsuki that showed up within the village. They got here for something and we dunny recognize what they took. He stated we observed them as a ways as we may want to but they were given away. He said we suspect that one in all them is right here. Naruto concept well I did not see this coming. I guess I underestimated the leaf I'm able to ought to be more cautious. He said so all of you ought to hold your guard up active suppose anything is bizarre and be careful all the Akatsuki are S-class ninja we don't know who it's for. They all nodded. When Naruto were given out it turned into night. He stated well I can hit the bar I should use a drink. He entered the bar to look the individual he least expected to look. His spouse become sitting at the stool having a drink. She wasn't sporting her Ambu uniform she changed into in her casual. He walked step closer however then idea she may additionally recognize me even in my henge. He sat at a distance. He had accrued all the data he wanted. He noticed few men coming to her manor. One said, "Good day, lovely, am I able to purchase you a drink?" She said, "No thank you, I am finished." Other one stated, "We've a number of coins too, come on, it's simplest to drink, plus you are all on my own." Naruto waited for her response. He stated, "Or do you've got a boyfriend?" She said, "I used to, long time in the past." He said, "Nicely then, it's all exact." She said, "Sorry, you need to try tougher." Naruto now stood up and exited the club. She said, "Shall we pass? Target is at the flow." He went to the lodge. Zetsu emerged from the ground. He said, "Well, what did you discover?" He stated, "Tell Sasori and Deidara to attend, the checks are going to held on the sand. If we wait, we are able to capture 2 Jinchuriki immediately." He stated, "Roger that." He said, "I guess I will depart tonight." He packed his stuff. He paid the receptionist. As he turned in front of the gate, he noticed the 2 guards were not there. He said, "Nicely, I wasn't anticipating you here." From the shadow an Umbu appeared and stated, "Who are you?" He said, "I am Jounin, leaving for assignment." Another man or woman appeared and said, "Which venture?" He said, "Lord Forth." Next second he becomes surrounded by Umbu Black Ops. She said, "Who are you? I checked the data, you never existed." He stated, "Let's say I am even extra lazier than Kakshi Senpai." He stated, "But you aren't going to accept as true with me?" There has been silence. He stated, "Nicely, doesn't be counted now, I was approximately to go away, can you permit me?" She stated, "Not going to show up." He sighed. He said, "I will simply have make my manner." She said, "How will you try this?" He said, "I have already executed it." She said, "What do you?" She become not able to pass. Minato said, "Ceiling artwork, that confirms it." She said, "Naruto?" He dropped his henge. He said, "With a purpose to hold you for short time, sufficient time for me to stroll away." She stated, "That is not going to clean." A shadow were given behind him, and slashed his sword at him. Earlier than the blade hit him, he countered it together with his kunai. He stated, "Seems like you have stepped forward a touch, Yugao." She stepped lower back. She charged at him, he simply defended himself. She noticed an opening and took it. He jumped to get far. His cloak turned into scratched. She stated, "Seems like your senses have dulled a little, Naruto." He said, "Allows test out your theory." He flashed subsequent to her, and kicked her off balance. She notioned he's speedy. But while did he mark me? He punched her in the belly. She becomes sent flying. He said, "With a purpose to preserve even you down for a while." She saw a chakra-draining seal on her stomach. She tried to arise, however she fainted. He picked her up bridal fashion and walked to his father. As he became still locked within the seal, he placed her down close to him. He said, "Cope with her?" Her eyes opened up a bit. She saw a fading photo of Naruto. She said, "You, why?" She fainted. He flashed out. Zetsu, watching the whole thing, said he does take care of her. The black component stated properly, "We cannot blame him." However, still he confirmed his that he can cross in opposition to each person for the Akatsuki. Naruto flashed to the Akatsuki hideout. He stated, "What is my subsequent step?" Pain said, "Useful resource out crew in Suna?" He nodded. Sasori and Deidara had hidden themselves inside the sand village. Sasori said, "What's taking him? Goodbye, I hate ready." Deidara stated, "Chill out, HN. He'll get right here." Subsequent moment there was a yellow flash. The puppet grasped, said, "You took it slow." He stated, "My apologies, however. Now permits begin the mission." It became night time and the sand village become ready to be attacked. Deidara took out the guards at the roof. He reached the Kazekage roof and stated, "Well, the getting changed into piece of CA." He sees the 5th Kazekage status in front of him. He said, "How did you determine?" He said, "In wilderness these form of birds are not found." The IWA bomber stated, "Oh." He jumped again as a wave of sand charged at him. "I am skipping the combat scene." Sasori stated, "Where is he? I hate wasting time." Naruto spotted Deidara and said, "Nicely, appear to be matters did not pass so easily." He said, "Nicely, he turned into more difficult than I thought. He got both my palms." He said, "The Perseus are close to, we have to move." The puppet master stated, "What number of?" He stated 3. Kankaro may want to the Akatsuki with his subconscious brother. Naruto stepped up, however he became stopped as a steel tail. He looked back. Sasori stated, "I will take care of him, you pass." Deidara jumped, returned to his chook and took of. Kankaro rushed, but he turned into stopped. He saw Naruto just standing there. He said, Naruto, if there is small piece of the one who we recognize or the one who changed Gaara, assist me. Hikaru looked at Naruto and stated, why are you continue to write here? He stated, to shop time. He stated, you constantly pull a nerve, but anyway, this is one time I will accept as true with you. Kankaro took out a scroll and 3 of his puppets seemed. Sasori stated, I would even enjoy this. Kakashi and his group with an Umbu squad were on their way. Kakashi's leg hit a metallic piece. He regarded around and noticed a person lying at the floor. He said, we have been 2 past due.